Apuntes 6-1, capítulo 6, número 1, so first part. Adjetivos posesivos are also known as possessive adjectives in English. A few chapters ago, we learned that we could use the preposition de to show possession. So we use de plus a noun to show possession, as in the sample sentence, es el cuaderno de María. Now remember to pause and write in your answers and then check them just by pushing play again. So this should have translated to be, it is Maria's notebook. Remember also that in English we have that apostrophe S, which we call the possessive S, whereas in Spanish it does not exist, which is why we kind of do the long way. Literally it translates to, it is the notebook of Maria, which we typically wouldn't say that in that order in English. We say it's Maria's notebook. Another way of showing possession is by using adjetivos posesivos. And you know some already. We've used some in the past constantly. So now they're just kind of all together. So we have two sample sentences here. Aquí está tu bicicleta should translate to, here is your bicycle. Tu is in bold print, being one of our possessive adjectives. Next sentence. Mi hermanita tiene 10 años should translate to, my little sister is 10 years old. Notice the bold print me, because she's my little sister, as well as in the example above, your bike. So here are the rest of the adjetivos posesivos. Now, because they are adjectives, they do have to match gender number with what it is that we're describing. Most of them don't really matter the gender so much because they don't end in an O, except for the our form. So going through, here are the singular ones, or when we're describing a singular noun, sustantivo singular. We have mi. So next to the arrow, you want to make sure that you write the translation, which is my. And notice I put tío and tía because it's just one. So mi tía or mi tío would be my aunt or my uncle. Then we have tú. Notice there's no accent because when we're using it as your, the translation as your, then it does not have an accent. If you wanted to say you, then yes, you need the accent if you're using the subject pronoun. But in this case, it's the possessive adjective, no accent. So again, it'd be tu tía or tu tío. Going down one more, we have now the possessive adjective su. Now this would mean your if you're using or addressing someone in the usted form. So if they're your friends or you use a first name basis, you would use tu. For example, tu tía. But if you're addressing an usted, you would use su, as in su tía. Other than that, it's the third person singular, known as his or her. So su tía, his aunt, or su tío, her uncle. Then we go on to where it matters the gender. So in the first person plural form, we have nuestro and nuestra. So nuestro tío has to be with the masculine, that's why it's tío. Or nuestra tía has to be next to the feminine word. And both those words mean our, as in they belong to us, our family, our uncle, our aunt, our cousin. And then you have vuestro in there because one, it's on your vocab, and two, it is used in Spain. You might hear it, you might see it, but I do not require that you use it. Then we have su again. Notice it's the same one as in his or her, as in their or yours, if you're using ustedes, all of you. So all of your tía. Again, this doesn't have to do, or the number I should say, doesn't have to do with who it belongs to. It has to do with what or who you're describing. So notice I still have tu tía, even if it's their uncle. It belongs to, all of your cousins, for example. But because it's just one uncle or one aunt, you still use a singular form of su. So what happens when we are describing more than one? We simply do what we always do to make something plural or an adjective plural. We add an S. So notice you have mis. Still in English means my, because in English we don't have that differentiation between number with possessive adjectives. In Spanish we do. So mis tías, because I have more than one, or mis tíos, because I have more than one. I'm describing my aunts or my uncles, or again, a combination. Remember in Spanish we can use tíos to combine the two genders. I can be talking about my aunts and uncles. Then we have tus, which still means the same one as the above, still means your, but because I now have tías or tíos, again has to be plural tus. Tus tías, tus tíos. And again, we do the same thing. The same thing happens with sus. Again, it could be yours, his, or her, but if you're describing something plural, definitely sus. Sus tías, sus tíos. I could be describing his shoes. He has many shoes. Sus zapatos. Then we go on to the nuestros and nuestras. This one still has to make sure the gender agrees as well as the number. So nuestros tíos and nuestras tías. Then we also have vuestros, same thing as in above, just now plural. And then again we have sus, again plural because now we're describing their uncles and their aunts. Sus tías, sus tíos. So moving right along, kind of what I mentioned before, only the nuestro, nuestra forms have a different ending. Since this adjetivo possessivo ends in an O, we must change the ending to match in gender with the noun we are describing. So let's put it into practice. We have 4 sample sentences here. Now you need to write en español. She is our sister. Take a moment, pause, translate the sentence. You should have written, ella es nuestra hermana. One, because sister is feminine and singular, so we want to use the feminine singular, nuestra. He is our brother. Should translate to, él es nuestro hermano. They are our cousins, and I put their gender, I put boys. Should translate to, ellos son nuestros primos. They are our cousins, the girls. Should translate to, ellas son nuestras primas. Again, keeping gender and number together. Now both tú, tus, and sus means your. Again, just to remind you that we use tú when we're talking to someone that you refer to as a tú, and su when with someone that you refer to as an usted. Or with more than one person, then you use ustedes form, you all. Again, if you're unsure which one to use, tú or usted, always think about it. Do I use their first name? Are we friends? If I use a title with them, if I call them Mr., Mrs., or doctor, anything to that effect is in titles, then you'll want to use the usted form to address them. The following section, I simply ask that you translate the following dialogue between abuela and the niño, her nieto. So as you go along, ¿Qué tienes allí? She asks. Should translate to, what do you have there? The niño responds, tengo mis lápices y libros para la escuela. Should translate to, I have my pencils and books for school. Notice we use mis lápices y libros because again we're describing more than one item. Qué bueno, aquí tengo mis bolígrafos para escribir a mis amigas. Should translate to, that's good or that's great. Here I have my pens in order to write to my friends. Again, matching amigas and bolígrafos being plural. So then we have the niño, who then responds, sus bolígrafos son muy bonitos. ¿Puedo usar uno? So talking to his abuela should have translated to, your pens are very pretty. Can I use one? Noticing again that sus bolígrafos, because he addresses her as usted, his grandmother, and because bolígrafos is more than one, we have the plural form sus. And then his abuela answers, sí, por supuesto. Should translate to, yes, of course. Moving on to el verbo hacer. Hacer, we've had in the past, means, write it in the space provided, the translation in English. You should have written to do. Remember, it also means to make. We just have been using it as to do more often. So to do or to make. And our verb salir, which means, writing in the space provided, to go out. Now, hacer and salir are regular verbs in the present tense except in the yo form, which has an irregular go ending. So these are called yo-go verbs. There are more yet to come, but these are the ones that come up first. So here you have the conjugations for the present tense of both hacer and salir. Notice hacer is an ER verb, salir an IR verb, and their conjugations are regular in all other forms except for the yo. If you notice a similarity, the yo form has that G in there and it ends in the O. So, repitan to practice. Yo hago, tú haces, él hace, ella hace, usted hace, nosotros hacemos, ellos hacen, ellas hacen, ustedes hacen. Moving over to salir, repeating. Yo salgo, tú sales, usted sale, él sale, ella sale, nosotros salimos, ustedes salen, ellos salen, ellas salen. So now I ask you to simply translate the remaining sentences to Español. So go ahead and get started with that. Hit pause, and then we'll check our work once you're done. She makes her bed should read, ella hace su cama. They go out with their friends should read, ellos salen con sus amigos, or amigas if you want them all girls. We always do our homework should read, nosotros siempre hacemos nuestra tarea. I go out to the movies on Fridays should read, yo salgo al cine los viernes. So hopefully that was okay. And if you need to repeat or review any section, remember to always just go back and listen to it again.